go ahead and get started with our presentations today. So we'll be joined by two wonderful presenters, Dr. Deanne Cranford-Wesley and Ms. Jory Dale. They'll be talking about reimagining education with AI. So we have two presentations. So they'll present for about 10 to 12 minutes each, and then at the end of the last presentation, that'll give you all an opportunity to ask them questions. So without further ado, I will pass it to our presenters.
Wonderful. Good morning, y'all. I'm Dr. Deanne Cranford-Wesley, and I am a faculty member at North Carolina Central, but I'm also director of the cybersecurity program there, and we are a center of academic excellence for cybersecurity, and I am the point of contact for that program as well. Welcome this morning. I'm going to begin by talking about reimagining education through a lens of AI. And I know that a lot of you, we've heard a lot of presentations about AI, and we've gotten a lot of different and valuable information that we could use, and I know I have. And so I'm going to talk a little bit about some things we're doing, what other universities are doing with AI, and how we're just kind of reimagining education with AI. Next slide, please. Can I advance it? I'm not sure if I can. Okay, what is AI in education? For this presentation, we're going to use this definition, and it just refers to the use of intelligence. I don't know what happened. Let me go back. Let me see if I did that. So just looking at and reimagining education and the, I think we went back too far, but that's okay. So our objectives is we're just going to talk about education, HBCUs, how they're doing education with AI. We're going to talk about some ICT resources, and then I'm going to do a call to action, okay? Next slide, please. Let's talk a little bit about AI and that definition of AI. So for this presentation, I'm looking at AI. This particular picture, I generated that picture with AI. And it took about 8 credits. It didn't take me 17 hours like the presentation we heard, but it took about 30 minutes to do that particular picture. And I wanted to do one with AI so you can see that we can do it, and some of these don't take that long. And this was all with freeware. I did not purchase the cost of AI, one of the AI LLMs to do this. And so I love the picture. I love it. It's showing people raising hands and asking questions about what are we going to learn today, right? And so as we move on, so the first thing I'm going to talk about in the next slide, please, is what are we doing in education? The first thing I'm going to talk about is curriculum integration. So and I'm going to start by talking about A&T. So I'm going to talk about integrating curriculum in education. I'm going to talk about what kinds of support tools students need. The next thing I'll talk about is ethical AI, how are we being ethical, and then artificial intelligence and how we have a policy around that. Next slide, please. So the first thing is, my first example is A&T. How is A&T using AI? Right now, A&T is using AI for admissions. But not only A&T is using AI for admissions, but all over UNC, North Carolina system, we're using AI for admissions. We're using AI so that students can learn how to write their applications. We're using it for statisticals to measure how many students we get in a certain year. How are we retaining the students? Why are they leaving? And so all over the UNC system, we are using AI in education. I'm sure some of your schools are using AI to do those same things. Also, in North Carolina Central, and I really want to pull up the link here. It's embedded in the PowerPoint. We have an AI Institute. Our institute was funded by Google, and we have other funding from other sources, and we're building a new building for the AI Institute and Research, and we call it LEAR. And Dr. Brady Day is director of that institute. In that AI Institute, we have speakers coming over from all over the world talking about AI implementations, resources for our students, resources for faculty and staff. We have community events where the community come in and learn about AI, how they can use it personally, how they can use it in education, how students can use it in education. So we are very excited about that coming on, and that's been since February of this year. Now, going forward, that AI Institute is going to serve 200+ students in building their skills. I will be working, the cybersecurity programs will be working with that AI unit. So we're marrying the two together. We're mirroring those, and they're complementing each other as we move forward. But we've had some wonderful summits on AI. We've had generative AI come in and talk to students and give them free accounts, teach them how to use AI. And so North Carolina Central is doing a lot in the AI space. Now, how are we doing, what are we doing with our staff and student services? We're doing admissions with AI. We're also doing retention with AI. In our curriculum, we have about 5 faculty currently working on courses. We're building courses, AI courses for our new Master's in Cybersecurity program. There will be several AI courses in that curriculum. That curriculum launches in fall. So those classes will be ready next month, July, sorry, so we're almost June, we're not quite June. But in July, those courses will be ready to go. We'll be using some open source resources for those classes and a lot of free tools. We will give the students options whether to purchase professional licenses, but we are using free tools to get them started. So the point is to get them started, teach them how to use the tools effectively, and then they can decide whether they want a more professional version of the tools or they need more to do what they're trying to accomplish. And so we have 2 classes being built there. In our master's program, our undergraduate programs in cyber is already utilizing some of the tools. And some of the things we're doing in our undergrad courses for cybersecurity students to bring awareness to the career fields that they may be interested in, we're asking them to go out and use Copilot to create a job description for the job they may want when they graduated, or to research those jobs. We will let them, so one of the examples is we let them find the, let's say if it was a cybersecurity specialist, we tell them to type that into Copilot with some particular prompts, because you have to have the right prompts. And so first we let them do it on their own and see what they come back with. When they come back with that job description, then we have them print it, we put it on the board, and we talk about these are the skills that's needed. This is the education you need to get this position. Where are you currently with your education? Where are you currently with those skills? And see how they mirror. And then we change the prompt to be more specific. And we'll show some of that a little later here. And so those are the kinds of things we're doing in North Carolina Central with AI. But some other example is Tennessee State. They're doing a lot with AI. And we heard some examples here of what they're doing. There is a lot of case studies out there. And I have some information that I think is being passed around about websites and tools that you can take back with you. If you didn't get one of the handouts, we do have up here where you can scan and get the resources. But on that list, you're going to see a lot of resources for elementary, community college, and universities, a lot of sites. All of these things are free. To just give you a taste of what's out there as far as resources and what others are doing in that space. Next slide, please. The next thing I'm going to talk about is the artificial intelligence policy. Now, at our campus, we have a committee working on an artificial intelligence policy for students. Now, you know, when we first started this last year, everybody went on and had just a 2-sentence blurb on what the students could or could not do. Mostly it was what they could not do. Because we were trying to wrap our arms around it and figure out what do we want students to do. But now here, a year and a half later, we have a committee and they're working on specifics of the policy. Now, so they say, how did you start a policy? One way you can just start looking at various policies and getting your mind wrapped around what kinds of things you want in that policy is to go out to Copilot, whatever's your favorite AI tool, and type in artificial intelligence policy for students in the university. It'll give you some ideas. And here on the screen, I have one that I put in. You'll see the prompt. I had a particular prompt I put in, and it came up with these types of information here: ethical behavior, writing behavior. You want to make sure your policy has some of these things outlined. And then on the handouts, I gave you some additional information about the artificial intelligence policy and what it could look like. Here it says the purpose of the policy is to establish guidelines for ethical use of AI and cybersecurity, to promote transparency, accountability, and trust in AI systems. Now, you can break that down to make it plainer to students, but what I suggest is my AI policy that I use for students, because I really want them to learn the tool. When I get in class, I'll put examples, and let's take for protect the privacy and security of data handling. I tell them, if you're going to use anything in AI, I want to know where you cite the source, where you're getting this from, why are you using this? And so I do particular examples about what I want to see and what I don't want to see so that the students are giving me the right information back, right? And then we'll revise it. Tell me how you revised what you got from ChatGPT. And now it takes some time in your class, but you're teaching and they're learning. So they might have to do it 3 or 4 times, but it's okay because, again, they're learning. And other things is accountability, who's responsible for the outputs generated. We want to make sure if they're using any type of research tool with AI that they are giving credit to where they got it from, and they validating what they see or what they obtain and how they're going to use that. And why do you want to use that? What would you say if you were doing this? And so things like that, and I find that it tends to work in my classes. And I teach classes like ethical hacking, cyber defense, and risk management, things like that. And so they're higher level classes, but we have a lot of hands-on in those classes. And we do have to do a little research because students are required to do research. They're required to go to conferences. They're required to create posters in conferences. And they need step-by-step a lot of times when they're creating these posters, right? And so I find it very helpful to do that in class. And so you should have artificial intelligence policy example, and then really, really massage it to your particular class. Don't just throw it in there and say this is for all. When our institutional cybersecurity policy is completed, then I will look at that policy and maybe take some of that policy and add some of the things for my Pacific class in there to put it on the syllabi as we move forward. Next slide, please. How am I on time? I'm over time already? Okay, very good. Okay, so, okay, thank you. Okay, so it looks like we're running out of time, so I'll go very, very quickly. When we're talking about automation, we're looking at drone surveillance and how right now the police department is using drones to catch thieves. Not sure if you're aware of that. So if someone steals a car, they set a drone up. The drone follows the car. When the car stops, the police is there to arrest the person. That is currently what's going on. And this is happening in Atlanta. Other things are cybersecurity threat hunters and secure swipes. We can use all of those things when we're talking about cybersecurity. The customer experience, when you look at Delta and how you call and you're trying to get a flight, they are using the AI to give us all that information. They'll say, do you want help now or do you want to wait for a live representative? That's the customer experience. Okay, next slide, please. I'm just kind of go quickly here. All right, so when we look at bridging education and industry, we're kind of looking in education at, we're talking to our advisory boards. In industry, mostly industry is on my advisory boards for cybersecurity and IT. So we go to them and we say, hey, what are you seeing? What's the needs you need from an employee? And they're giving us feedback on, well, you know, AI is out there and we need students that have experience in JavaScript. We need students that have Python experience. We need students with a little bit of data analysis experience. We need them to do a little threat hunting. And so we're taking all of this in as we try to massage our curriculum and make sure our curriculum is up to speed and is current for what industry needs. And so when we look at what industry wants in an employee, we try to give our students that information and try to give them the skills they need so they can be competitive when they leave us. And so every industry is trying to implement some form of AI. We have to know that. And if you go out and look at the jobs out there, I check the job markets in North Carolina weekly. And every day they're changing. We have something like AI technician. We have something out there called AI specialist, an AI engineer. And then I look at all the criteria they want for those positions. I look at what it's paying. What kinds of education would one need? So I can be current in that classroom when I'm talking to students about these job opportunities. Next slide, please. Again, I've given a sheet with resources. These are some other things I found out there, but you have a sheet with a list of things. This is a short list here. And so please use those. I hope you find those helpful. There's many more resources out there. And it depends on the age. I try to give you a little of all of that's out there that's free to you. So I hope you can use those. And then lastly, just a call to action. Next slide, please. I just wanted to say, you know, AI is out there and it's everywhere. It's in every industry: healthcare, finance, retail, manufacturing, transportation, and agriculture. We need to ensure that our students are trained and they know that these are the career pathways. These are career pathways for the next generation. We need to teach them how to use AI effectively because they have to use it. And I know we say, oh, we don't want it because they're going to be cheating and we're not going to have jobs, but AI needs human intervention. And for us, that's the teachers. And our jobs are not going anywhere. And they're going to need to know how to use AI effectively. So a call to action, please allow them to use some of that. Take some time. Do all the free, lots of free things out there for AI. Take the call. Thank you so much. Any questions? Okay. Thank you again. Sorry. Okay.
Good morning, everybody. Hi, my name is Jory Dale, and I'm from Prairie View A&M University. I'm going to be discussing with you today about navigating generative AI as we see it today in the classroom education and how we can really implement it. I went over this a little bit, but it will be a modified presentation today. I really do encourage you all to please scan the QR codes if you have that ability with your smartphones. I did create a LibGuide. I am a librarian at the institution, Prairie View A&M University, and I do research and instruction. I was going to say construction. So as I go through these things, I've actually put in a lot of materials for you to be able to look at a mock policy as well as citations and other things in the LibGuide that I've already prepared. I'm going to go ahead and get started to be respectful. May you go to the next slide? Thank you so much. So some of the learning objectives might be a little modified today. Also, can I have speaker notes as well, like you did for her, sir, on the slides, if that's okay? But if not, it's cool. I got it. All right. So usually I talk, if you don't mind turning on my mic, I'm just going to walk around. So benefits and challenges of artificial intelligence, a lot of people know about it because of the problem that we're having with students. We think they want to cheat. But in reality, if we implement it into the classroom and we showed them how to use it, then you could have the academic integrity in the classroom as you go forth, right? Because if you're educators, we always want the students to be hungry, right? So as we keep going, we want them to look up these articles. We want them to know how to gain their research and their knowledge, right? So they can be on the forefront of what's going on in technology or whatever field you're in. But if they don't know how to do the research, right, or how to do the literacy of what is true, mis, and disinformation, then where will they be? Because the world is going towards AI and they need to know how to find that information. The impact of prompt engineering, why is it so important? How does that experimentation, we've been hearing that, how does that really affect your prompt engineering? And then properly citing and integration. Please go to the next slide, sir. All right, so I like to start with a timeline because everything's about the history, right? People think that AI is something new. Automation is not new, right? We've been automating things for a very long time, just creating a machine to do something a little bit better, right? So when you look back between the 50s and the 40s, you have computers starting, right? Well, at first, they used to program computers with punch codes, right? They automated that too. As we progress more, we have iPhones coming up. People forget that Siri is voice automation, right? You ask Siri, what's the weather like outside? Now it's something completely different because we're looking at media coming into it. We have images being produced, right? We have voice turning into images. You can just tell ChatGPT, that's what we did this morning. Hey, ChatGPT, give me an image or a photo or a diagram. It'll do it for you. So as we move forward, artificial intelligence, now it's a large language model, right? It's almost as if it's predictive text automating the writing and the language and the image recognition, the capabilities as we see it today for humans, right? So this is just something that's been modified. It's nothing new. Please go to the next slide, sir. So, and I might say GIA, which is still generative AI, or generative artificial intelligence. AI in research, it will really help you do a lot of different things, whether it's methodologies, right, or asking for assisting with data analytics, or critical thinking. These are some things that have been very difficult for students as we move forward. I used to be a middle school teacher. I've taught high school. I've taught math, science. I'm certified to teach all core subjects. And as I've seen, after COVID, these students are having reading comprehension problems, right? It's not that they can't read, they're not really reading to comprehend. Do they understand what they're learning? And that will take a different teaching method. Are you teaching them to understand the concept and apply real-world knowledge, or are you teaching them so they can get a grade and get a degree? That is not what we want to do. We want to really be inspiring these students to change their lives because we are educators. And so, yes, it's widespread adoption. Everybody hops on what's popular. It might not be popular next year, but it's hot stuff right now, right? And there's central challenges when you have hot stuff coming up, right? Where are the policies to safeguard our research? How do we know it's, How do we know it's true, mis, and disinformation? How can we really ensure that this is aligning with academic integrity? Please, next slide, sir. I teach academic integrity and research classes at Prairie View University. We pride our students on being honest and truthful and bringing their best self into the classroom. And when we talk to these students about this, we want them to know the tools that will not only automate their learning, making it easier, because not every student comes from the same background, and we have to understand that as educators. They come to college to change their lives, right? Not to be belittled. And I don't mean to say that in a rude way, but as I spoke with educators, sometimes we might put too much on their plate when we forget that we were once students one day as well, right? And just because our level has changed in the education field, it doesn't really make us any better because we remember where we started. So if we could really use these tools to help with efficiency in research, right? I rarely see faculty members in the library. I rarely see them bring their students to us. Partner with your librarians, right? Ask them, what resources do you all have, or what can we purchase? What databases do you have that will help facilitate better research? And then after they found those articles or learned search strategies, how can you automate or organize or just critically think and analyze these articles with generative AI? That is how we're supposed to use it. It is a tool. It is a tool. Humans have used tools for centuries. It's the ratchet effect. Things change over time. This is just a different search engine. It's similar, well, I know how y'all feel about technology. Google, right? But it's just a different form of querying. And querying just means searching and asking for questions. It's a critical thinking aid. Y'all remember the bubble maps back in the day, right? I don't know if y'all remember those big charts when you used to teach multiplication and your teacher wanted you to get a whole 100 chart done in 1 minute. That helped with rote memorization, right? Those bubble maps, Venn diagrams, things like that, that helps you plan your ideas. And you use that in all stages, even in the scientific method. The one part that we're missing from the scientific method, though, with generative AI is the hypothesis. You don't really have to hypothesize too much, but you do have to start with the question, right? You do have to do the experimentation, put your prompt in. Try again, try again, try again until you get what you're looking for, right? Then you also, right, have to synthesize and analyze the data. Is this what I was looking for? Or did it take me in a different avenue that I wasn't even thinking about? Can this help me further my ideas from wherever I started before? It's almost as if you're talking to another colleague, right? Because imagine if, let's say if you're an architect, right? But you want to know how to build in a certain environment. Maybe you need to go talk to an anthropologist. But if you don't have the time to talk to an anthropologist, maybe you can use generative AI to help you understand where you're missing in some holes so you can go do better research. Always remember to fact check these AIs as well as you move forward. With these innovative technologies, there are so many new ways to approach research, and I believe that if we do not implement generative AI into the classroom as soon as possible, we will be letting down a whole generation that's coming after us. They are looking for jobs when they graduate. I was looking for a job. I graduated in COVID in 2020 from Texas A&M. I went back to UNT and I got my library degree in 2022. And I will tell you, it has been a very hard time really starting my career and becoming a professional because the tools, the world has changed. It is not what we thought of before 2020, I will tell you that. And if we don't prepare them now, they're going to be lost. And these are going to be the people who take care of us when we get older, who make our laws, and who run the world. I would be so scared if we give them the keys, but we didn't teach them the tools. May I have the next slide, please? So I did want to put the disclaimer on here. So it says note on generated content. Always give them the disclaimer, right? Especially with cybersecurity. Let them use AI so they can know, okay, how did this AI generate incorrect code? Implement these things into the classroom so they can know how to use it with experimentation. You all can do something different or work with your counterparts. It's okay if the idea wasn't your own. It's okay to help build and work with other people and collaborate across the pond. That's why we're here. So anything that you think worked or didn't work, publish it. There's not enough publishing coming out. We need you all to write so people can research. We need people to do experimental data as well, in a sense of what are the student results looking like when you do these things. That's why I really love the keynote speaker who talked yesterday about how she was seeing how her student data and interaction changed as they used more tools and automations and different things like that in her classroom. So we do have to understand the challenges though. There are risks. They cheat, but a cheater will always cheat. A cheater will always cheat. They're always going to find a way. It's about how are you teaching? Are you asking conceptual questions, or are you just asking a question that just needs an answer? Because then you're letting down the students, because if you're not asking a question where they have to really think about the application of real-world knowledge, did you teach them something that they can apply? And that is the whole point, especially in this industry. I'm going to name drop Dwayne White. He comes to our university very often because we have a 40net training institute. Ooh, shout out to them. You know, we love Tony Moore sitting there helping. And when he comes, he always says, what's going on right now in cybersecurity is that not enough students are being trained on real-world application. And so you have so many data breaches going on right now because they're not either being trained on certain areas or basic fundamentals, but they got the degree and they got the job. And that's where we're missing out, because maybe we can use some of these to be training models that we didn't even know about. Then the bias of the AI outputs, whether it's ethical, cultural bias, we have to understand that, or just a bias in a STEM field that you're not even thinking about. And just protecting research. Even with the National Science Foundation, they do not want you to upload anything for your presentations, right? Any parts, even reviewers, right? These are breaches of confidentiality, and we have to know this. As educators, once we learn how to use AI effectively, then we can teach our students. We want you to go out and apply for these grants. I will hit a little bit on NAIR as well. We want you to get these educator resources. NAIR is a National Institute for AI Intelligence and Resource, and I'm missing the last R. I always forget it. And they have free tools. It's almost like a concept of a sandbox where you can just work and learn in an isolated environment, and then you can save as much data as you need to within reason on their platform, but they'll clean it out later. And a lot of people don't even know about these, and if you really want to give your students these tools, write you a little paragraph and apply for these resources so it can make more sense, so you can have the tools you need. Because maybe it's too simple and you need something more robust, right? Or maybe it's on the other side. But first you have to state what is the need and assess your student and the critical need of your university as well. Can I go to the next slide? And how am I on time? Cool beans. All right, so it's going to shape your outputs, and it doesn't really have precision and clarity all the way, but it can really help you do better if you really know how to prompt engineer. So like Dr. Robbie was showing us yesterday, experimentation is key. Experimentation is key. You're gonna have to keep trying. It's like when you sat down learning how to tie your shoe. You didn't get it the first time. You didn't get it the first time, you cried a little bit. I know I did. And I sat there for about 8 hours, wouldn't let anybody leave the house, but I got it done, right? And when you refine how you put your prompts in, it's almost as if when you use a search engine with the library, that first keyword might not work. You might have to change the author and put in the title, right? Or you might have to change the title and put in a keyword for the subject. It's all similar, it's just a different method. And we forget that it's all the same, it's just a different method. We're not reinventing the wheel, we're just making it a little better with different material. Can we go to the next slide? I'm gonna keep going. Yes, this is where I wanted to go. So I did some examples, but y'all already know how to do that. Dr. Robbie did it, we don't have to go to, she did it better than I could. So you have different styles, and I just did the basic ones that we use, but I just want everyone to scan the QR code because it'll take you to my LibGuide, and this is what I really wanted you all to see. There are so many different citation styles out there, but I wanted to talk about what the ALA and the ACRL wants you all to know. The ALA has said that they can handle copyright and infringement laws and things like that. There needs to be no external revision. But then also there's an article on there, and there's certain ways to cite this AI. Of course, they've came up with different ways, but I wouldn't recommend using AI to cite AI either. I just want to say that they're always wrong. The citations are always wrong, so don't do that. The links are always broken. But when you do this, it helps you really attribute, right? So if you look at the Chicago style, and I believe the MLA style, those are some of my favorite styles. Because one, I can't remember at the present time, but one will show you what was the prompt that your student asked. And one will show you what was the result of the prompt. Allow them to cite their sources, because then you know where is the gray area in your teaching. We can always improve. And that's being the best educator you can be. We can always improve. If you look at their citations and you see they're consistently asking AI about a certain question, maybe that's something you have to hit a little bit harder in your next lecture, right? Maybe if they're using the part where the prompt, you'll know exactly what they used. Because if there's no sources other than that AI that they cited, 9 times out of 10 they plagiarized that. I'm just gonna be honest with you. So this helps you also encourage them to do extra research outside of AI and how to cite, because if we don't do this as academics, how can we expect the students to do it? This is why I say it's okay to use it, but it's a tool, not an author. You have to put your ideas in for even to make yourself anything. Can you go to the next slide? We got like a minute. And so these are some different examples as well, and it's the same link. And if you go on my LibGuide, it tells you a little bit more about the NAIR resources. We have the TAMU system, we have ACES. See if ACES can partner with your community and your programs as well. This is something outside of NAIR, but it still helps you with cyber systems and also artificial intelligence as well. Can you keep going for me, please? And then the last but not least, policy and procedure. So this is a mock policy that I did do, and you can scan it. I fixed the links, but one is still broken, and I looked at that today, and I promise y'all, I fixed it right before I flew out. I don't know what happened. But you want to preserve academic integrity, right? And this is to deter plagiarism, but we also want to promote cybersecurity, right? We want these students to know that their PIIs are important. We want to adhere to FERPA and the GRPC, I believe, laws, right? We want to adhere to those things as well, and we can't do our job if we don't teach the students how to do their job, right? Don't put your personal information in. We have all these data breaches going on with the Student Clearinghouse. We would hate for the next generation to have to go through that because we didn't teach them how to safeguard their stuff. Right? Fostering ethical AI practices. If we have a policy, then they understand the procedure. That's what any workplace. You have a policy and then you have a procedure about how to do things, right? It's like your safeguarding plans for when you go and you run your systems and things like that. We need one for education and AI in the classroom. Because if we don't have this, how can you be a police, but you don't have a policy? How can you blow your whistle, but you don't have a procedure? I'm confused. I need steps. Right? We don't do anything without resources, so why do we expect our students to do that? And then advancing national cyber infrastructure. We want to protect our resources. We are happy and blessed to have our resources, so let's protect them. Right? Let's do right by the organizations who are funding us and our country that is providing these, I'm not gonna say that, providing these needs and everything, but the goal is to be secure. Right? The goal is to be innovative and it's to integrate. That is my time. If we go one more slide, my conclusion, let's balance, right? Let's innovate and have integrity. Let's be critical. We are the researchers, we are critical in this role as we move forward. And the future outlook, it's promising. Oh, it's promising, I'm so excited. Y'all should see what you can do with art these days. Oh my gosh, right? It's gonna be next level. Imagine you can build a house with one of those print machines, right? If you get a big one. So imagine if you can AI some stuff for certain windows, certain arches, certain things that you want, put a couple images. Oh, things are gonna be wonderful. But we first have to safeguard, know how to use it, and implement it. And we have to stick true to being an educator, right? It's not easy, but it's good work. It's good for your heart. All right, thank you so much. All right, that's my time.